Hello, my name is Kevin Switzer. I'm a security consultant with Ingram Micro and a member of our Delta Force cybersecurity team. And for this short video, we're going to touch on the topic of zero trust. And our focus on this topic is always going to be trust nothing and verify everything. And before I jump right into the actual zero trust specifics, I want to talk to you for just a moment about why this is such an important type of architecture. Some of the recent trends that we are seeing is that cybercrime is currently, year-by-year basis, $2.9 trillion problem worldwide, and the experts are expecting that to be $10 trillion by the year 2025. And since the pandemic began, we did expect an increase in successful attacks. However, not this big. The FBI is reporting that 400% increase in reported cybercrime since the pandemic began. And we are absolutely seeing that remote workers continue to be a top target for cyber criminals. And 95% of cybersecurity breaches are considered caused by some type of human error. And of those, 47% of employees who were successfully attacked cited distraction as the reason for falling for some type of phishing scam while working from home. And we refer to this as the distraction factor. We can certainly relate to that with all the things going on, lots of distractions and things going on in the news. You might not be as focused working from home with all the different distractions going on as you may have been working from your office. And we are seeing that the top target of many of these attacks are user credentials, because the attackers know once they have these credentials and can access the system, the rest of their attack becomes a pretty easy process. So the idea of zero trust, and kind of the basic definition, is a dynamic security framework that is the belief that organizations should not automatically trust anything inside or outside its perimeter. Instead, they must verify anything and everything that's trying to connect to its systems and data on those systems before it may grant access. So the old approach, and this is actually at this point pretty old, is that security would rely on the network perimeter. So anything inside the network perimeter was trusted, and anything outside was simply untrusted. However, zero trust security throws away the idea that we have a trusted internal network and an untrusted external network. The adoption of mobile and cloud means that we can no longer have a network perimeter-centric view of security. Instead, we really need to have securely enabled access for various users, so employees, partners, contractors, visitors, etc., regardless of their location or device or their type of network. Now, there is no real silver bullet when it comes to achieving a zero trust security architecture, but identity and access management is one of the core technologies that organizations should start with on the journey of zero trust. So the first step is to identify what we really need to protect anyway. So we start out with critical data. Typically, the types of data we're looking at here is going to be PII, which is personally identifiable information, PHI, which is protected health information, IP, which is their own intellectual property, PCI, payment card industry, just for some examples. Also, the assets. So a lot of that's going to be different types of IoT devices, SCADA, which stands for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. Point of sale devices, non-workstations or possibly workstations, applications, which is going to be any software used for business purposes, whether it's a box product off the shelf, custom in-house or built, or even in the cloud. Our network services, so DHCP, DNS, SMTP, and LDAP. Now, all of these is what's going to make up our key term here, which is DAS. This is definitely a term you need to, or an acronym you should note, and what that stands for is data, assets, applications, and services. So all these things that we identify and categorize, least important to most important, is going to make up our DAS. Now, for each of these categories, we then must create a micro perimeter. Now, the main principle for zero trust, accessing to corporate resources determined by dynamic policies enforced on a per session basis and updated based on the current state of the client ID, application service, and requesting asset or device. All communications to resources must be authenticated, authorized, and also we would really prefer if they can be encrypted if possible. The authentication authorization system should be agnostic, so separate from the underlying network. And the enterprise must be able to monitor and measure the integrity of the security posture of all owned and associated assets. Now, the key components that were typically going to be used in a zero trust, but this is not always the case depending on the types of systems. But we're typically looking at IAM or identity and access management. Certainly multi-factor authentication, whether that's a token or a touch to push or a thumbprint, whatever it may be. Also, with that, we want to look at the device health. So even though we now may know we are working with the person that they say they are, but also we still don't trust them. Have they actually taken care of their device? Does it have an updated operating system, or does it still have weak or unpatched systems? Also, is that device running antivirus or anti-malware, whatever it may be? And also network access control. We want to make sure based on this user's role, they're only accessing the data they need to perform their job function. Next, set up access control and micro segmentation. So the tools we need for this is going to be things like a rights management tool. We certainly are going to want a next generation firewall in place. Also a solution for monitoring the user and the network overall. And also something to manage the remote access. So a very simple form to do this is VPN. I would also highly encourage you to look into the SASE architecture, some of our other training videos. That is a great way to approach your remote access policies. Now, when it comes to zero trust policy, this policy should give you granular control of traffic by identifying and classifying the DAS, which is all those main category stuff we talked about in the beginning. There's a lot of different ways to do this, and Kipling, which is a very good source, which we're going to mention here, these things we should always keep in mind. Who should have access to this resource? What application is being used to access the resource? When is the when is the resource being accessed? Where? So what is the ultimate destination for this traffic, and why? Why is this access being granted and used? Also, how? How is the traffic accessing the resource? Now, bear in mind, zero trust is a journey and an ongoing journey. We will need to revisit all of these steps as components are added to the DAS. Now, once this architecture is up and running, things that should maintain focus on is identifying suspicious behavior, being able to investigate, threat hunt, and also have a remediation plan on paper. We need to monitor and maintain the zero trust as well as all the systems. And also for all those new projects and newly implemented types of DAS, there needs to be a plan to move these into the zero trust journey. So at this point, we're really cycling back into that beginning of the zero trust, and the cycle continues. Now, for more information, really encourage you to visit one of our Ingram Micro sites at securitylinecard.com for some vendor-specific information, as well as the Ingram Micro cybersecurity page for more upcoming trainings and events. Thank you.